Hello, today I will giving my presentation on geological risks found in convergent boundaries in oceanic and oceanic cross-interaction and oceanic and continental interaction. In 1972, a list of World Heritage in danger was developed under the World Heritage Convention to inform the international community about the conditions that threaten it. These heritage sites face risks that can negatively affect the value of the assets, resulting in armed conflict, wars, pollution, urbanization, and uncontrolled tourism development. One of the main natural causes that put several heritage sites at risk is the presence of geological threats that can happen in deep or superficial processes that produce gradual subsidence, soil collapse, coastal retreat, floods, and others, which are usually attached to extreme weather events which can be accelerated by climate change or by human activity. One of the main forms that we can categorize as geological risk are floods, are tsunamis, landslides, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions, which were estimated with the use of open access programs of low risk data and volcanism programs. The main intention of this report is to consider two zones of convergent edges, one of oceanic and oceanic cross interaction, and the other of oceanic continental interaction, which presents one of the main risks mentioned. There will be a focus on detailing the geological events present and that have occurred in the study areas, how vulnerable they are to the climate changes, and they have currently received, the socioeconomic impact that precedes this type of events, and how they are related with the Sustainable Development Goals, the CDG, with geological threats. On the first case, we're going to focus on the Aleutian Mountain Range, on the Aleutian Islands. Within the study of possible risk area, we're going to focus on territories where there are active processes that may produce geological events that put the study area at risk, and the socioeconomic and population impact on the chosen area. The Aleutian Islands were chosen as the study territory since the present island arcs with volcanoes that may present a risk to the socioeconomic and environmental ecosystem of Alaska is present in this area. Within the edges of oceanic cross convergence, an island arc is expected as a result, which is what we see with the Aleutian Arc, which is the main volcanic arc formation in Alaska going extension from the peninsula of Alaska to the Kamchatka Peninsula. The subductic zone that occurs is due to the displacement of one plate under another. In this case of study, we're in the subduction zones where the Pacific plate slides under the North American plate, and we observe the resulting arc as a product of this process. Within these areas, we find great seismic and volcanic activity that occurs the continuous movement of plates, of which the highest records of seismicity and volcanism in the Aleutian Islands will be taken as a study. One of the main characteristics of the Aleutian mountain range is that it is located in an active subduction zone, which means that the consequent tectonic and volcanism processes have been recorded over several years of study. Subduction zones studies can be distinguished between eastern and, and western islands, which a focus will be given on the difference in geological hazards that affect each area. An earthquake record from 2016 showed a magnitude of 7.1 located on Iniskin Island in the eastern part of Alaska, with aftershocks that were located in isotherms between 800 and 19 Celsius. In turn, with seismicity variations in previously studied areas such as the thermal slag model Cook Inlet, it allows us to locate earthquake records between the isotherms of 500 Celsius and 900 Celsius of temperature. Records of earthquakes and aftershocks that form in the Iniskin and Kenai Island areas give of double seismic zones and triple seismic zones in the worst of cases. Throughout eastern Alaska, non-uniform layer separations can be observed along the subducting slab slope, implying rheological or crustal thickness resulting in triple seismic variation zones. The interaction between different factors, including dehydration of metamorphic facies, interslab stress, pre-existing structures, and abrupt changes in slab geometry, may explain the observed variations in earthquakes genesis. Studies of the intrinsic variation of the plates that interact on the subduction zone allow us to give an idea of processes present in seismic situations caused by said subduction. A study that demonstrated the geological risks present in more close areas of the Aleutian mountain range, and the formation of islands that compose it. This group of islands, the Aleutian Islands, presented a very record of earthquakes and possibilities of tsunamis, the Magging Gap of the Alaska Aleutian subduction. The Magging Gap of the Alaska Aleutian subduction zone has been identified as a seismic zone with low coupling ratio, which presents an opening of around 200 km wide, and it is limited by a zone of ruptures generated by the 1938 magnitude 8.2 earthquake at East on Yosemite Island, and the 1946 magnitude 2.6 earthquake to the west of Unimak. We know occurrence of a large earthquake in the last century. Geodetic observations suggest that the coupling ratio of this section is very low compared to that of the Yosemite Rift Zone, where the subducted plate appears to be strongly coupled to the overlying plate. One of the characteristic events of this area is the production of earthquakes from superficial thrust in not-so-deep areas, which align with the interface rupture of the slab that we see at the intersection of plates within the subduction zones. We find similar examples in similar events, 2020, October 19, 2020, and July 29, 2021. Cases that present similar causes of earthquakes due to processes at low depths, which in turn have caused new rupture zones with presence of strike slip at points west of the event's cause. The geological risk presented by the subduction zone between oceanic plates is one of the main problems that affect the island, giving rise to possibility of earthquakes and tsunamis in the area. Another vulnerability that the Aleutian Islands have is that they face constant climate change, which has altered the temperature record taken in the waters of the island and the Gulf of Alaska. Heat waves brought by the sea breeze affect the marine ecosystem in the fishing industry, which is the main economic source of export, generating a reduction and difficulty in animals being able to reproduce easily under the increase in temperature. Additionally, a record from 2018 shows that there were fewer glaciers, which are essential for the growth of algae on the underwater edges, whose depth is in the benthic zone, and serve as food for nearby fish. However, its absence greatly affects the development for food for other marine animals, since due to the lack of structures in which to grow, phytoplankton grows in superficial areas, giving little possibility of food in deeper areas. As stated before, one of the main economic sources of the southwestern areas of Alaska stand out in the harvest of marine food, highlighting products such as Pacific cod, Alka mackerel, clams, snail, etc. The main problem of socioeconomic impact attributed to a change in temperature in the environment and ecosystem established in both the coastal and marine areas. Heat waves contribute to this problem, which become intense and increasingly frequent, which affects the of animals in the vicinity of the Aleutian Islands. In addition to the climate change present in the atmosphere, it is determined that the orogenesis of several chains is attributed to an increase in heat that occurs deep in the oceanic crust. The increasing heat causes the ice to melt, and this prevents phytoplankton from reproducing in deeper area, breaking the food chain for species in benthic areas. The relationship we found with the Sustainable Development Objective and how it has this connection to geological risks that are presented in the European Islands is that we highlight the objectives of climate action and submarine life. From a climate action perspective, it is highly attributed to human activity and presents an unprecedented threat to the entire population of the planet as well as the living beings in air, marine, and terrestrial ecosystems. One of the effects that seriously affects the ecosystem in the Aleutian Islands is the melting of glaciers due to increasing temperature, affecting marine and bird species, breaking the natural food chain of the area. It is of importance to note that from an economic point of view, it is favorable to determine the points most affected by temperature variation and generate solutions to preserve marine ecosystem in a renewable way, which helps the country's economy. In the submarine life, the oceans surrounding the Aleutian Islands are fundamental to the country's economy and present favorable areas for the collection and harvesting of fish that are essential on an economic and environmental level. The presence of earthquakes and tsunamis causes disruption in these ecosystems, adding to the constant climate change that the Aleutian Islands are presented with, creating a challenging coexisting environments for marine species that are not able to adapt to new changes in nature. Treatment of marine ecological refuges allows them to contain stable marine ecosystems whose risk is minimized, but still present in the subduction zone and the ecological risk that they bring with them. Our second case of study will be the Cascade Range, comprising the areas of Oregon and Washington, especially the areas that surround Mount St. Helens, Mount Hood, and Mount Adams. The Cascade Range makes up a family of volcanoes with extensions of 1,300 kilometers, extending from Northern California to the southern part of British Columbia. These volcanoes are the result of a subduction zone that occurs between the oceanic crust and continental crust interaction, recording volcanoes known for their explosive eruption and another 2,900 geological structures. The subduction zone is between the Juan de Fuca Plate and the North American Plate, and these focus on the territory surrounding St. Helens, Hood, and Adams volcano. The focus on these three volcanoes is due to the recorded eruptions and the socioeconomic and environmental impacts that they have caused in the vicinity of their area, with additional information on the geological risks that are the main ones faced by cities in Oregon and Washington. According to the study of the history of volcanoes and their eruptions, 18 of the volcano studies could be categorized as high risk, where 11 of 18 are located in the areas of Washington, Oregon, or California, where explosive eruptions and snow-covered material tends to be projectiles that can harm the existing populated areas and highly developed territories. From an urban point of view, the proximity that developed cities have with these volcanic structures present a high risk of being the first to be impacted, whereby aftershock, tremors, explosive eruptions of ashfall. The main geological risk of these chains of volcanoes appears in a pattern that helps us understand the main sequence of events that occurs when an imminent dangerous situation occurs. Firstly, when a powerful chain eruption occurs, it usually occurs in the form of an explosive eruption, followed by lava flow outpouring. Then high-velocity avalanche of hot rocks and gastric flow are accompanied by variations of other events such as collapses of tephra columns or collapses of flow fronts, which can send pyroclastic flows down the volcano flanks. Finally, when eruptive material mixes with river waters or melts snow and ice, volcanic mud flows, known as lahars, sweep through valleys and can devastate areas more than 50 miles downstream. Rivers can continue to carry volcanic sediment downstream and cause flooding for decades or hundreds of years. The most important threats come from volcanic ash and the smoke and debris within lahars because these ones can have a severe impact on society or properties found in the near areas of cities and even in the air. Problems brought about by climate change is the increasing temperature in areas of the volcanoes that are surrounded by glacial material, since this causes an increasing risk to areas with a high population and development zones. By increasing the heat, mountain peaks that have a combination of rock and snow as well can impair the ease of sliding of the material along the flanks of the volcano, using melting means of transport by the pyroclastic flow. These can easily affect societies that are in the vicinity of the volcano and hitting them more faster than, than by increasing temperature. Another indirect impact generated by the melting of snow is the possibility of liquid infiltration into existing dams or fractures in the volcano, and coming into contact with the magmatic flow and causing the volatility of the volcano to be more aggressive and damaging in the column eruption that forms when the lava comes out. Increase in the Pacific Northwest, areas near volcanoes are developing and more people and property at risk. The main dangers to the population of the Pacific Northwest are lahars and ashfalls. Lahars, or volcanic mudflows, can destroy buildings and infrastructures in the area. Eruptions that include volcanic ash can be specifically dangerous, even a long distance from the volcano because the volcanic ash can clog and shut down their engine. From a socioeconomic point of view, there are those developed cities that are most affected, with the increasing population being a problem that increases the risk of properties and businesses, as air transportation being put in danger in the event of a volcanic eruption. In the report of the study areas and convergent boundaries of oceanic and oceanic cross interaction and continental interaction,